times men act very stoically, but inside they're like ducks that are just like scrambling underwater. Another immature masculine response that is sort of the opposite of that, what that often leads to is emotional shutdown. Mature masculine response is, okay, not a lot of people know this about me, but I'm super into Stoicism. Like Ryan Holiday, I just fucking respect you, man. It came up recently with a friend of mine that a lot of the times men act very stoically, and so they come off as very like strong and silent, but actually they're not fully expressing themselves. Like actually they're withstanding a lot of bullshit, like maybe even abuse from the women in their life in order to maintain their like stoic exterior, but inside they're like ducks that are just like scrambling underwater, not knowing how to deal with their feelings and not knowing how to express themselves and express their boundaries. Today I want to talk about what comes off as kind of looking like Stoicism, strong and silent, even divine masculine energy, but the trap that some of that is if you're not also doing the internal work. And Ryan Holiday, you can come and correct me. I think the Stoics would agree with me on that. So let's talk about the myth here. The idea that staying silent and pushing through is what makes a man strong. Not having any reaction, being like completely stone-faced, no matter like what a woman does to you or by you or around you. Even if that means like disrespecting you, that you got to stay strong and silent and repress it because that's what men do. And that somehow actually leads to better, more successful relationship. Spoiler alert, it doesn't. Because what that often leads to is emotional shutdown. And what we want is for men who can have their emotions without getting overwhelmed by them. Let's talk about the myths here. How many times have you been told as a man that expressing your emotions is weak? Man up, tough it out, never let them see you sweat. The only thing to fear is fear itself. These messages condition men to suppress rather than process. True strength isn't about avoiding and suppressing those emotions, but actually like having them and knowing that you can handle them with confidence. So think about, for example, the men that you admire, maybe like public figures or people in your personal life who you look up to. Are they emotionally shut down, or are they emotionally aware and in control? Like, do they allow themselves to feel things and maybe even like express those feelings, but from a place of groundedness? Or do they have like no emotions at all? And actually, if you find yourself really looking up to men that don't express any emotion at all ever, that's like probably something for you to look at, maybe with the help of a coach or a therapist. Because like, why is it that those are qualities that you aspire to so much? Is that what you were taught? Are you just kind of continuing the lessons that were given to you instead of thinking for yourself, is that really what I want for me, the men in my life, the boys in my life when they become men, etc. Let's talk about what divine masculine energy really feels like. It often feels like a grounded, stable, solid presence, right? And sometimes we can get that confused with silent, right? Strong, silent versus stable, solid, not the same. For a mature masculine, for the divine masculine, he realizes that feelings are a bridge to connection with himself and with other people. He recognizes that his emotions are the things that connect him with other human beings, because all of us experience emotions, and therefore his denying them actually closes him off and disconnects him from other beings. When I think of, an example of the divine masculine, of the mature masculine, my mind automatically goes to the king. And the king who power flows from, not to. Hopefully some men in your life, or can think of some examples who like their very presence and the power that they have amassed actually supports the whole kingdom. It supports the whole family. It supports their wife, their children, their grandchildren, their employees. Like, these are the kinds of guys that know that having emotions and expressing them, like standing up for what's right, standing up for themselves, but not letting their emotions overtake them, is actually part of what makes them powerful. The most powerful men throughout history, leaders, mentors, warriors, they have this energy about them, and part of that is because they have mastery over their emotions, not mastery suppressing their emotions. So we sometimes have talked about masculine energy in terms of like toxic, non-toxic, but I want us to think about it more in terms of mature and immature. A immature masculine response to emotional stress is to go silent, numb out, say nothing. And this could be like being disrespected by a partner, right? Like maybe your girlfriend yells at you over something very inappropriate in front of your friends, and your response to that is to go silent or numb out. Another immature masculine response that is sort of the opposite of that, if that's an under response, the immature masculine over response, yelling back at her, like escalating the situation, becoming aggressive. Mature masculine response is to stand up for yourself, to put an end to the thing that's going on, and especially in front of other people, to name that like, this is not how I want to be treated, and we will address this later. And then later name, hey, this is how that made me feel. That made me feel very disrespected, and it brought up a lot of fear, concern, and anxiety in me that we're having this conversation in front of other people. You know that I identify as a private person. You also know that you can come to me with these things. So why is it that you decided to handle this situation in this way? That's a mature masculine. It's not a lack of masculinity. It's not an overexertion of masculinity. It like lands in the middle in a mature way, and it uses neither silence nor aggression, but it knows how to balance space between them. It's also worth noting that it's impossible to suppress emotions to the point where they don't eventually come out in one way or another, whether that's explosive anger or anxiety or chronic stress, things that happen into the body, getting floaters in your eyes or getting colitis or these other things that like stress can manifest in the body. It also can lead to avoidance and distance in relationships with your family, your children, your friends, your boss. It can end up in a situation where the only person that you get to express yourself with is like the dog. Well, that's not good for the dog either. A lot of men end up, and I wish this never happens to you, it's one of the reasons that I have my channel, destroying the relationships closest to them, losing their family, losing their children, losing their partners, because they never take the time to learn how to communicate what's going on inside of them. And they never give themselves permission to just do that imperfectly. So let's talk about how to do that and let it be imperfect so that you can maintain and grow and have great relationships. Number one, recognize that your emotions are data, not enemies. They're not necessarily the truth, they're just information. Number two, learn how to express your feelings in a grounded way without dumping or exploding. Use an emotion wheel, get some words to state how you feel. Start small. Instead of saying, I'm fine, the next time that your partner asks how you're doing, say, I feel frustrated. Find spaces to process these emotions, like men's groups, therapy, journaling, trusted friends, not just your romantic partner. Expressing your feelings doesn't mean whatever you necessarily go to in your mind when you think about it. It doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to start crying in public. It does mean doing these small incremental things to be able to name and then feel and then express your emotions. The world doesn't need more emotionally shut down men. I do wish that the world had more stoic men in the like really classical sense of stoicism, which doesn't mean shut down and emotionally suppressed. It means strong and grounded and emotionally aware. It means men who are capable of dealing with difficult things, of leading both themselves and others through painful and stressful and unforeseen times. It means being able to lead themselves and others through times of pain or times of conflict or times of uncertainty, which we certainly are in right now. So I wish for you that you will consider for yourself how to call upon your divine masculine, how not to repress the things that make you human, how to become a sexy stoic. That's right, I said it, stoics are sexy. I'm Kaylin B. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you here later this week.